All right, we want to welcome everyone to another meeting of the Personal Finance Ministry for Third Street Bethel AME Church located in Richmond. And we're glad everyone was able to get up this morning and get in their right mind and get on this Zoom call. And we anticipate others will be joining us as we begin and conclude this discussion. But as we always do, we're going to take a moment and say a prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for another day. Thank you for another opportunity. Thank you for this technology that allows us to get together, share good information. Thank you for everybody that's on this call. Thank you for everyone who, for whatever reason, could not make it. Bless the speaker and his family and his wife. Thank you for allowing him to have a successful career, to give him the knowledge and the wisdom, so that in the wherewithal, and the blessings, and the will to join us and to give us some information that we can use to better our lives and our families. Bless his family, bless his finances, bless his love for Jesus. Because in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. It is my honor to introduce our speaker today. He has spoken to us once before, about 2 years ago, I believe. He is Captain Rosario McWhorter. And the captain is, he achieved the rank of captain in the Navy. He retired. He's a retired naval officer. He was born in Charleston, South Carolina, raised and grew up in South Carolina. He enlisted in the Navy, and I hope you don't mind me saying the year, but 1982. And his specialty was submarines. So he spent several years on submarines, and he had the opportunity through the Submarines Electronics Limited Duty Officer Program to become an officer. So he went from an enlisted sailor to being an officer, and it's something that it's not a common thing. It happens, but he was blessed and was able to do that, and he just took off. He rose through the ranks, and his specialty all along was submarines, but he served aboard submarines, and he also served on land. And we had the opportunity when he was the XO at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard up in Maine. We had the opportunity to go visit him and his lovely wife, Ceci. And we went to his house and to live the life of an XO on a naval base. Oh my goodness, that house was beautiful. And but let me tell you, I meant to start this way. I always introduce Rosario the same way. He is my wife's sister's husband's sister's husband. So that's why he's my brother-in-law.
Once removed.
Once removed. But Rosario's a serious guy. He's disciplined in everything he does. When he has an interest in something, he goes 1,000% at it, which, that was a drive behind his success as being a naval officer. And then when he was a naval officer, he started taking interest in the stock market, in the technology specifically of day trading, which allowed, he'll explain it to you, but which allows people to engage in the stock market. You don't have to be up there on Wall Street and have a broker sitting there on Wall Street. You can be in your living room watching the game and do your day trading. But it's not a hobby for him. He takes it very seriously. And I know this, after our meeting 2 years ago, Rosario took it upon himself to keep us informed. So when he came across nuggets of information, as many of you know, he would send out on his group chat information, and people respond to it, and people were excited about it. And so thank you, Rosario, for doing that. And if you want to follow with Rosario, I'm sure, he did it, he said last time, just get your information, and we'll add you to group chat. Let me just go through some of his commendations real quick. He retired the rank of captain. He received the Meritorious Service Medal, the Navy Commendation Medal, the Navy Achievement Medal, the Voluntary Service Medal, and the Legion of Merit. And I'm sure that's just a handful of the many awards that he received during his tenure. The only slight thing I can say about him is that, well, he's bragging right now because his team, the Minnesota Vikings, are 5-0. Now, I guess at some point over the next hour or so, he's going to explain to us how I became a Minnesota Viking fan, but he's a proud Minnesota Viking fan. So without further ado, I want to introduce some of you to and reintroduce others to Captain Rosario McWhorter. And his wife, Ceci, is sitting somewhere in the room too. So
yeah, she's right next.
There's that Viking
Yeah,
arm on the chair.
yeah, I'm a diehard Vikings fan. In fact, the Vikings organization, upon my retirement, they sent me a certified Minnesota Viking helmet with the paperwork attached to it. And then Fran Tarkenton, which is a quarterback that took them to the Super Bowl a couple of times, he sent me an autographed book and a football.
Oh, wow.
For my retirement. I've been a Vikings fan since 1971, diehard.
Oh, wow.
That's the picture on the
From South Carolina,
Yeah.
because, South Carolina didn't have a football team. I just fell in love with Fran Tarkenton because it was just hard for the defenders to tackle him. So I became a Vikings fan my first time watching football, and been a Vikings fan since, diehard.
All right. All right.
Okay, so are we ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
All right, and we got the slides up.
They are coming.
All right, we can go to the next slide. And can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we can go to the next slide.
Wait a minute. Where did the slide go?
All right, yeah, that's the first one.
This is
Oh,
the
okay.
first one? Okay.
All right. Okay. I started investing in 1996. I took an interest in trying to invest for my retirement. I started investing with $2,000 with Dean Woodard, and it cost me $85, which I wasn't happy with, but they said that's what it costs to go through a broker. And then they recommended a stock for me to purchase, which I went there thinking I wanted this other stock, but they convinced me to buy the stock that they recommended. So I did that, and I watched it for 6 months. And in 6 months, I lost $500 off of my investment. So I decided to pull that money from Dean Woodard, and then I opened up myself a TD Ameritrade online trading account with the remaining 1,500. And that day, I became a day trader. And since then, I made over $2 million in my investment, just doing my own research and day trading. Next slide. It's not transition. All right. Day trading. As the name suggests, it involves only a day position, which means you buy it and you sell it in the same day. And again, it's a full-time job, and it's a full-time job because you really have to study and understand the stock that you're buying. And you must develop a unique skill to become a master at day trading, because you have to know when to buy, when to sell, when to hold, when not to panic. And most people don't do a really good job at it. Okay. Day trading is a method used in which individual buys and sells shares over the period of a single day with the intention of profiting from the small price fluctuation in that particular day. All right, next slide. Okay, history of day trading. Okay, day trading can be tracked back to 1867 when the stock market used the first ticker tape, which made it easy to transmit information about transaction that was occurring on the exchange floor. Next slide. Okay, how did day trading work before the internet? Okay, stock trading was done by either phoning a broker to place a trade, and before telephones, you physically had to be on the exchange floor to trade. Day trading today in its digital form originated with the computers and continues today with the cell phone. So anyone that has a cell phone can become a day trader. Whereas a long time ago, you physically had to be on the stock floor to trade stock, which is why you see the huge fluctuation in stocks on a particular day, because now you can actually execute a trade in a matter of seconds, whereas it used to take hours, or in some cases, days. Okay, next slide. Okay, day trader. A day trader are investors whose objective is to make money in trades which will be squared up before the market close. Okay, by normally making numerous trades within a day. Okay, next slide. There's two types of day traders. You have what's known as a pattern day trader, and you're considered a pattern day trader if you execute 4 or more day trades within 5 business days within a margin account, which I'll talk about in the next couple of slides. Pattern day traders requires to maintain a $25,000 in their margin account. Okay, and if your balance fall below 25,000, your online brokerage won't allow you to day trade, and that's to protect themselves in case you over leverage yourself. Okay, and a regular day trader is anything less than the above. Next slide. Okay, there's 2 types of online accounts. You have what's known as a cash account, which is what I highly recommend, especially when you're just getting started, is to use your own money to trade stocks so that you don't get yourself in a situation where you have to sell your home to pay up your debt. And then a margin account, which is where people borrow money from an online brokerage company to trade stock at a high interest rate, normally 12%. Okay, again, I do not recommend, as many experience significant losses, which triggers a margin call. And when you get a margin call, that online brokerage company is telling you they want their money and they want it now. And if you over leverage yourself, meaning you owe more than what you can sell stocks to liquidate, then you have to borrow money from a bank, or in some cases, folks have had to sell homes to liquidate to pay up the brokerage company. And that has happened a lot. In fact, one guy, he took his savings, his wife's savings, and his mother's retirement savings to invest in crypto because he wanted to get rich so that because they got tired of working, they wanted to retire early. But then he lost it all when crypto crashed to the point where at the time he was writing a story, he still hadn't told his wife and his mom that he lost all of their money. Because not only did he use their money, he also borrowed money, right? He also borrowed from a margin account, and when the crypto stock tanked, he lost everything and was in the negative by about $700,000. Yes, it happens every single day on the stock market. Next slide. Okay, the pros of day trading, again, you can make quick money really quick. I mean, you can become a millionaire in one day if you're in the right stock at the right time. Or you can lose $1 million in a day if you're in the wrong stock at the wrong time. Okay, I like it because you are your own boss and you can make a lot more money than just sticking your money in a savings account. Next slide. Okay, the cons of day trading: risks of substantial loss, time consuming because you must study and you must understand the company that you're trading your stocks in. Because if you don't, you're not going to win. It's very high stress and many people burn out trying to become day traders. And again, 90% of day traders lose money because you have to understand everything about the stock that you're investing in, how it reacts on any given moment within the day, and when something happens, good or bad. So why do people day trade? Okay, I'll explain that over the next couple of slides. Next slide. Okay, you have what's known as short sellers. These are people who purchase a stock and hope that the stock drops because the company is experiencing some type of bad news, okay? So they buy the stock, but they buy it in a short position, hoping that the stock falls, okay? So they'll buy it and then they'll sell that stock on the open market and then hope that the stock falls. So they'll purchase the stock back at a discount and pocket the difference. There's people that specialize and they're called short sellers. They look for companies that's experiencing some type of bad news, and they know the company is going to fall, so they'll buy the stock at a short and pray that the stock falls, and when it does, they make money as the stock falls. I've never bought a stock at a short because I don't believe in hoping that people lose money. So that's just me personally, but there's people that's made a lot of money short selling stocks. Next slide. Okay, short squeeze. This is what happens when folks buy stocks at a short position. They get squeezed out of the stock when the stock that they expect to go down all of a sudden have some type of positive news and the stock goes up. So short sellers are forced to sell their stocks to liquidate their position, or if they're below where they purchased the stock at, most are forced to buy the stock to cover their losses as the stock declines. So as the stock goes down, some of them are stuck in those short positions. So to compensate or try to lessen their losses, what will happen is those people will actually have to buy the stock as it goes up to try to compensate for what they're losing as the stock is going down. And that's when you can create millionaires in a matter of minutes, is when you have a major short squeeze where folks are forced, the shorts are forced to purchase a stock as other people are buying the stock because the stock has good news. So while other people are buying the stock because it has good news, the shorts are also buying the stocks to limit their losses as the stock goes down because they're stuck in their short position. So every time the stock goes up, they lose money. So to compensate, they'll buy it as it goes up to try to compensate for those losses. That's what creates millionaires in a matter of minutes. That's why 90% of day traders take that risk to become short sellers because they can make a lot of money in a short period of time. Next slide. Okay, this is what happened. If you guys remember, during COVID, Kodak was one of the most highly shorted stock on the entire stock market. And why was that? Because nobody was buying Kodak films because everyone had a cell phone with a camera. So Kodak stock was really down low, extremely low. And Donald Trump at the time was president. He knew that. His buddy was the CEO of Kodak. So what happened was they announced, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time as I saw Trump and the CEO of Kodak walking off to announce some type of news. And something told me to buy the stock before Donald Trump started talking, which I did because I knew Donald Trump don't do anything unless he's planning on profiting from it. So I immediately bought the stock, and then they started talking, and Trump said that Kodak was going to go from taking pictures into the COVID business. And as you can see this chart, the stock shot up, okay? And because I saw them walking out to the podium and I purchased it before they started talking, I made over $100,000 in a matter of 5 minutes.
What?
Yes, because I bought it when it was at the bottom. You see that bottom where it's at the top? I bought it at the bottom because I knew they were getting ready to announce something. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was going to be something where the stock would go up. Yes. So I jumped in a matter of minutes, made $100,000 and jumped right back out. That's why people day trade, because they hope to have a day like that day. The next slide is another prime example. Okay, Avis car rental. Okay, this was again one of the most highly shorted stock on the stock market because they were expected to report bad earnings on that particular day. Well, the earnings blew away Wall Street expectation. The stock was at 160 at the time. It went from 160 in a matter of hours because it got halted numerous times because when the stock shoots up or shoots down really quick, the stock market will automatically halt that stock. Well, this stock went from 160 to $535 in a matter of about an hour, with the stock being halted about 5 or 6 times within that hour. Again, I made over $100,000 that day also. Now I could have made over 200,000, but I made 100,000 and then I jumped right back out because I didn't want to be greedy, you know. But the stock I bought it at by the time I caught it, it was at because it immediately shot up. It was at 160. I caught it at 350, something like that. I wrote it up to 450, but it actually got up to 535. But I jumped out after I made $100,000. That's why people day trade, because of days like that when a stock goes into what's known as a short squeeze, where the people who had purchased the stock at a short are forced to buy the stock as it went up. And that's what happened on this particular day. There was so many shorts in the stock that they had to buy it. And it was the shorts that kept pushing the stock up further and further and further, because as it went up, they were losing money on the short end. So they had to purchase the stock to compensate for their losses on the opposite end. And that's why it went from 160 to 535. Next slide. Okay, so I use what's known as a top 10 strategy, where I have my top 5 long-term stock. That's the monthly report I put out with my top 5 stocks that I track and purchase. And then I use, on the bottom is my 5 short-term stock, which is stocks that's at the bottom of my monthly report. Those are my short-term stocks. And then I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I I watch the financial stations, CNBC, Bloomberg's, and then I look at any company reporting their financial reporting on that particular day. So I get all of that information between 6 and 7 o'clock before the pre-market open. The pre-market is from 7 to 9:30. The regular session is 9:30 to 1600, and then the post-market is 1600 to 2000. So at 6 a.m., I'm up and I'm looking at my 5 long-term stocks to see if anything is happening there. Okay, and then I'm looking at my short-term stocks, and then I'm looking at anything that I pick up on CNBC and Bloomberg to get ready for my 7 o'clock open. So I know where I'm going to shift money to at 7 a.m. All right, next slide. Okay, dollar cost averaging. This is what I recommend for people who work 9 to 5. It's dollar cost averaging, which is a practice of investing a fixed dollar amount on a regular basis, regardless of the share price. So like every month or every quarter or every year you purchase, you add more money to your long-term investment stocks, okay? It's a good way to develop this, the discipline and habit that's successful, that is proven over the years to be successful by dollar cost averaging. In fact, I had a friend who wanted to make money like me day trading, but this guy had a regular government job, and he was trying to day trade in between conference calls and meeting, and he started with 40,000 and he lost 13. So he went from 40,000 to 27,000 trying to day trade, which I kept telling him, you can't work a 9 to 5 and day trade. So he finally took my advice. I told him to take the remaining 27,000 and spread it over the 5 long-term stocks. That guy just sent my wife and I matching Rolexes for his token of appreciation for that advice, because he's well over 6 figures now because he took that advice of doing the dollar cost averaging. And we just received our matching Rolexes like last month because he did, he dollar cost averaged the long-term stocks, the 5 long-term stocks. So it works. Okay, next slide. Okay, day trading. Again, if you're going to be a day trader, it's a full-time job. You must study the companies that you're investing in. Okay, and then in order to day trade, you must have an online account. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is what I added from my last time I did this. Is I show people how I actually day trade. Again, I'm up at 6 o'clock. I'm researching news on my top 5 stocks to see if I'm going to add to those shares on that particular day. And on Friday, when I woke up at 6, I looked at my top 5 stocks, and I had great news from 3 of those top 5 stocks. The first one was Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer is a legendary investor that's been in the market like 50 years. He sent out a tweet the night before saying to buy Carver stocks. That's the stock that's on the bottom of my monthly report in the short-term section. He says to own Carver stock. Okay, and then the next one was Meta Platform, Facebook. Price target from 2 online brokerage on Wall Street raised the price target. One raised it to 620, the other one raised it to 660. And then the third one was the obesity drug from Eli. It's going to get approval from Japan next year. So the obesity drug is on track to be approved next year in Japan. So when I woke up at 6 o'clock and I saw those three of my top 5 long-term stocks got those great news, guess what I did at 7? I added to those positions at 7 a.m. and I made almost 7% Friday alone, just on those 3 stocks because of the information that came in overnight that I woke up to at 6 a.m. Okay. So it works, and this is what I've used over since 1996. I've developed this habit since 1996. When I first started day trading in 1996, I didn't do very well because I was trying to be a day trader and working a 9 to 5 job, or working a 6 to like 20-hour job, in the Navy sometimes. So I realized that you cannot work a full-time job and be a successful day trader. So I proved that over the years. And then when I retired and I went into day trading full-time, I made a tremendous amount of money because then I could focus on the stocks I was day trading. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so now I'm also looking at any company that's reporting their financial results before 7 a.m. For instance, Walmart normally reports right before 7 a.m. So I know which companies are reporting because I have a little app that I look at that tells me every company that's reporting, whether they're reporting in the AM or they're reporting after the market close. Certain companies report in the AM, like a Walmart. So Walmart normally reports after 7 a.m., but sometimes they report before 7 a.m. Okay, not like certain stocks, they have a certain set time that they report, and they do it every time they report their earnings. Some stocks like Walmart, it's, there's no set time, but it's normally before 7 a.m. So I know if Walmart reports before 7 a.m. and it's great numbers, and Walmart has been great over the last year, the stock has gone up tremendously. I know at 7 a.m. I'm buying Walmart stock because I know Walmart always goes up 5, 6, 7% on great earnings. But then I'm normally out of Walmart by 9:30. Why? Because over the years, I've realized that Walmart always sells off by the end of the day. Even with great earnings, they'll sell off because it's just a company that normally sells off, and what's known as sell the news. And people know that Walmart always sells off even on great earning days. Okay. I'm also looking at companies that's in the same, like Walmart, like a Target. So if a Walmart reports great earnings, Target's normally going to go up. So I know Target's going to move that day also. So I'll also buy Target for that particular day, and then I'll sell it also. And it works. It really does work. Okay, next slide. Okay, again, to be an effective day trader, you must spend a minimum. This is what I tell people. You must spend a minimum of 2 years studying the industry and the stock that you want to invest in, because you must know how the stock or industry react on good news, bad news, financial reporting, whether it goes up and continues up or goes down like Walmart at the end of the day. Or whether, just certain stocks that you must know how it reacts on good and bad earnings. Okay. Okay. And then if you don't really understand this, you are going to be in that group of 90% of people who lose money in the stock market, because 90% of day traders that lose money in the stock market, because you have to understand how the stock is going to react throughout the day. Okay. Again, people do it because, like GameStop, I don't know if you guys heard about GameStop, but it's a company that went from $1 to $400 in a couple of days because day traders was pushing the stock up. And had you bought the stock, had you bought 1,000 shares at $1, it would have cost you, $1,000, and that stock would have gotten you $400,000 had you stayed in and rode it all the way up to the top. That's just with a $1,000 investment. A lot of people became millionaires off of GameStop because they were just throwing money into the stock, and that's what was happening with the stock. I jumped in, I made 6 figures on GameStop also, and I jumped out, and I'm glad I did because the stock came all the way back down again. So again, to be a successful day trader, you must not be greedy. You must get what you want, You know, what you target to make, and then get out. You don't try to keep jumping back in. The people who keep jumping back in and out of stock, once they've made money, they normally end up losing it again. Okay, so I know that I normally make most of my money between 7 o'clock and 7:30, because that's when you're going to get the bigger bang for your buck, because that's when everyone's normally ready to pump money into stocks. Okay, and then I'll come out of those stocks and then I'll just ride it for the rest of the day. I'll just wait for the end of the day. If the stock goes down, I'll check it again at 3 o'clock to see where it's at. If it drops significantly, then I'll jump back in at 3 o'clock and ride it until right before the market closes at 4, knowing that it's going to probably go up. And it normally does. 9 times out of 10, if they sell it off after it ran up at 7 o'clock, they'll normally sell it off, hope that other people sell it off so that they can jump back in at 3. That's what day traders do. They'll write it down. I mean, they'll jump in and they'll let it fall, and then they'll jump back in again to ride it up before the market closes at 4 o'clock. But again, it takes time to understand how these stocks are going to work on any particular circumstance like that. So that's why I tell people, you know, if you don't study it and understand how it works, you're not going to make money, because 9 out of 10 people, day traders, lose money. Okay, is there another slide? Yeah, one more slide, I think. Okay, conclusion. Never day trade with money you can't afford, as 90% of day traders lose money. And I tell people, never use someone else's money to day trade, because if you get a margin call and you don't have the positions to liquidate to satisfy that margin call, your online brokerage company is going to require you to borrow money from a bank, from a family member, friend, or in some cases, folks have had to sell homes to liquidate, to pay their bills. And the company will force you to pay that bill over a certain period of time to pay that bill. That's why I don't recommend people borrowing money to day trade. Okay, any questions?
I have a question.
What's that?
I heard that 7-Eleven stock is a good stock to purchase. It's called 7-in-1.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't track 7-Eleven, and I don't recommend stocks to people that I don't track. That's why I'm very focused on certain stocks that I track. And I stay within those industry, because you can't track every stock on the stock market. That's what gets people in trouble, is they'll buy stocks that they don't really understand the stock or the industry as far as how it works, as far as whether that stock goes up and keep going up, or goes up and then sell off. So I always purchase stocks that I've watched over the years and know how those particular stocks act on any given moment within the day.
Thank you.
Yes.
I got a question, Captain. The Apple stock was sold off by Warren Buffett, and a large chunk of it was sold off a while back.
Yeah.
Frankly, it was very intimidating, because I thought that, that since he's such a big investor and seems so savvy, that a lot of people might also sell off, that stock might take a hit.
Yeah.
It dropped a little bit for a minute, and then it rebounded.
Yeah.
And I sold off some, then I came right back and bought it back. I wasn't day trading. I'm not as smart as you. But I bought some back, and I'm glad I did. But I thought, I don't know what he was doing. Do you have any idea what that was about? Why he sold off like $1 billion worth of stock?
Well, because he was Apple's #1 investor. It took Warren Buffett a long time to invest in tech stocks, but when he finally did, he chose Apple, and he made a tremendous amount of money. He sold 51% of his position. And again, it did scare a lot of people, because they were asking, why was Warren Buffett selling Apple stock? Well, people didn't realize that I never recommend people selling Apple stock. You know, when they got hit with the lawsuit from the government, I didn't recommend people selling it because Apple always has a comeback. Apple has always figured out a way to come back, and that's what they did. After Warren Buffett sold off, the companies announced that they were repurchasing all those stocks that Warren Buffett was selling off. Then they announced that the AI revamp was going to basically force everyone to purchase a new iPhone. And so all the Wall Street analysts raised the price target when Apple came out and said that the new AI format for the Apple, you know, was going to force everybody, basically everybody would have to purchase a new iPhone. And that's what's happening. Apple is now ramping up because they're projected to sell 7% more iPhone than they originally projected. And that's why you saw the stock just went from, I think it dropped down to like 180 something. Then it went all the way up to 240 when they made those announcements. So I never recommend people selling Apple stock. And Apple, again, Apple has made more millionaires than any other stock on the stock market.
Well, thank you for that comment because I had an iPhone 7 Plus that stopped working with USAA. I couldn't get on the USAA site with it, and I couldn't get it sync with my car. And I said, "Oh man, I got to get a new phone." Bought a 15 Pro Max.
Yeah.
And then went back to the company that sold it to me, Xfinity, and said, "I'm not happy with how you all the fact that I couldn't activate my phone fully is my fault."
Yeah.
And they said, well, to keep you the customer, we're going to we'll switch that out for a 16 Pro Max, which I just got. So just got it going. So you exactly what you said. And the AI is in the 16.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one thing that Apple does is they force you to buy a new phone because they limit the service support for those older phones. So it gets you frustrated to have those older phones because Apple purposely will limit the support for those older phones. That's why the company has done so well, you know, over the last 30 years. I mean, that stock at one point was at $1 a share. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. Apple had got all the way down to $1 a share before Jobs came back in and took it back over again. And it's been the best stock on the stock market. Apple has split on average every 3 years on average since the 1990s.
Wow.
Since the 1990, every 3 years, Apple split its stock. So again, it's made more millionaires than any other company on the stock market.
Thank you for saying that. Okay.
Yeah. So never sell your Apple stock. In fact, I got some people who sold half their shares and now they wish they had.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, I keep reminding them, you could have been a millionaire had you listened to me.
Hey, Rosario, explain, when you say split, explain what that means. When you say the share split.
Now, when a stock gets up to be too expensive, what the company will do is to lower the price of their stock by splitting the stock. Let's say Chipotle Mexico Grill was a prime example. The stock was like $1,500 a share, okay, which was very expensive, and most people can't afford to buy one share at $1,500. So they did a 50-to-1 stock split to lower the stock, okay, so that people can purchase it at a cheaper price. And it went from they did a 50-to-1 stock split, and the stock price came all the way down to like $50 a share. Okay, it's because the stock was over 2,400. That's what it was. It was 2,400. They did a 50-to-1 stock split, and it came down to almost $50 a share. So now most investors do not want to buy a stock at $1,500 a share or $2,400 a share, but they'll buy it at $50 a share, even though it's the same value. Okay, because if you have 100 shares and they split it 50-to-1, then you're going to have 5,000 shares, but it's the same price. I mean, it's the same value. There's no difference in the value, but it allows other investors who won't buy it at 2,400 to buy it at that new reduced price. So, but the people who's in the stock, their value doesn't change. Their value change when the stock goes from 50 back up to 2,400 again. That's when their value changed, because now they have 50 times more shares than they had before, but at that reduced price. So there's no difference in the value, but you own more shares at a cheaper price, and you hope that other people push that price back up again to 2,400.
I have a question in regards to that because
Mhm.
Randy, you stole my question.
Mhm.
My question was about the split.
Mhm.
Like for example, with
Yeah,
Nvidia,
Nvidia,
like
yeah,
yeah, like before they split, I was on the fence as in should I buy because I know they were getting so expensive.
yeah,
So my whole thing is always with even and oh, before I even say that, I just want to shout out Mr. Sampson. I just want to say when you gave the advice last year sometime to buy the Apple stock, thank you. I did buy it, so I am making my money.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you,
Thank you.
Valerie.
Thank you for the advice. In
Thank
saying
you.
that. But with Nivea, it was kind of one of those things in which I was like, how do you know, like when it goes up so high, how do you know they're gonna split? Because I think for a while it was just like I bought it before the split and I was just like, well, what if it doesn't split and I only wear, so it's like, so how do you kind of know, I guess, I don't know how do you know if they're going to split? How do you know if to buy before or after the split or wait for the
yes.
split? That's like my biggest
Oh
thing,
yeah,
especially with these
yes.
stocks.
That's a great question. Most people, when you find out about a split, the company normally announces the split when they report earnings. They'll announce that they're going to split. So normally when a company reports their earnings, most of the time, 90% of the time, it will be when they report earnings, when they know that their stock is too expensive for the average investor. And a split, when a company split, they want other investors, smaller investors to buy their stock. That's the only reason why they split their stock. Okay. Again, you normally hear about it when they report earnings, but you're not going to hear about it before. You may hear whispers about it on Wall Street. And now when it comes to a stock split, I always tell people when a company announces a stock split, you have to buy it that day. You can't wait for the stock split. Most people have to wait for the stock split because they don't want to buy it at that huge price. But between the time they announce the stock split to the stock split, the company is going to explode in value.
Okay.
Why? Because the experienced investors know that the inexperienced small investors are going to purchase it at the stock split. So they'll buy it knowing it's going to run up to the stock split. And that's what happened with Chipotle. Chipotle ran all the way up at the stock split. Then when it split, it sold off. And it kept selling off because they lost their CEO to Starbucks. Starbucks bought their CEO out. They paid him a lot more money. And the Kava restaurant came online. Folks who was buying Chipotle started buying Kava. And Kava has done extremely well. The stock is up tremendously. In fact, it just went up again Friday, $3-4. It's because people that have been buying Chipotle, eating Chipotle, are now eating Kava. And that's what we're seeing, the flow going over to Kava. And that's why Kava is shot up. And they just announced some new dish that they just started, some steak something, which is very popular. So when Jim Cramer said buy Kava, I just added more money to Kava and made almost 7% on Friday.
Yep.
Love
Kava.
Kava.
Love the stock and I love the food.
Yeah, if you notice the last 2 months that I'm reporting in the bottom, Kava's been that one stock that's been there both times, because it's doing extremely well. And they're opening up new restaurants in all 50 states. And it's just a stock that's going to do extremely well. In fact, I'm hoping it becomes the next Chipotle, which is a company that did extremely well for a long period of time before they lost their CEO to Starbucks just last month or 2 months ago.
Hey, Rosario, you said that you get up early every morning, watch the TV, the news, business news.
Yeah.
read up on the companies that you're following.
Yeah.
If there's good news, you put your money there. I
Yeah.
assume the opposite is true. If there's bad news, you start selling right away. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, if it's bad news, I'll sell knowing that I'm going to come back to those long-term stocks. But that's the beauty of being a day trader, is that you can reduce your losses on the opposite end. So if it's bad news and it's real bad news, then yeah, I'll sell at 7 o'clock, let the stock fall, knowing people are going to panic, but then I'll normally purchase it back and I'll regain anything that I lost at the open, because people will panic and oversell, but then they'll realize that they oversold and then they'll try to come back in at the end of the day. I normally beat those people back as far as getting back into the stock, knowing they're going to panic. Panic is really good for a day trader that understands the emotion that people go through when they're losing money. And when folks are losing money, they make bad rational decisions. And they'll sell a stock at a low price. And then when the stocks start going back up, they'll try to jump back into the stock. I've normally been really good at knowing when the panic selling stops and when to jump back into a stock, because the long-term stocks are solid. Those companies are going to immediately recover from any type of bad news. So if you time it right, I can sell out at 7, then I'll normally buy right back in before the end of the day, knowing that the panic selling is over and folks are going to realize that they made a mistake by selling. That's what comes with the years and years of watching the market, understanding the emotion that people go through as they're losing money, because that's their retirement for most folks. You know.
And how did you pick your companies that you're going to follow? I mean, what advice can you give as far as picking the companies for any one person? And do you ever advise that you swap out a company or two?
Yeah, normally the top 5 is normally solid. There's very rarely do I change. If you look at the last 3 years that I've been sending out those reports, I've only swapped 2 of the top 5. I swapped out Google for Meta, and Meta has done extremely well. And then I swapped out something else for NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's done extremely well. So I get up at 6, and then I'm watching the financial stations, listening to all the experts. CNBC, if you can listen to CNBC, you can get a lot of valuable information as far as how, the major investors are moving their money. And they're normally right. Most of them are normally right. Sometimes they're wrong, but most of the time they're right. So that's how I know which companies and which industry where money is flowing into. So again, you have to study it. That's what I'm saying. It's a full-time job. You can't do it part-time and be successful, because 90% of people are not when they try to do it part-time. Okay.
How many hours a day would you say you put into this? And do you work on weekends? Do you look at things over the weekend?
Well, yeah. Well, no, just at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, for me, when I first retired out the Navy, I was spending all day in front of the TV. But now I've learned how to set my alerts. So I have alerts that tells me when something good or bad is happening on the stock. Now, I don't normally spend a whole lot of time, because I realize the money I make on the stock market goes elsewhere to other people. Because we done paid off all our bills. In fact, I just bought my wife and I a brand new Mercedes-Benz off of day trade.
Wow.
I just remodeled my father's house, which nothing's been done to it since 1963. New flooring, new roofing, everything. We just put a lot of money into it. Off of money I make day trading. So the way I look at it, it's free money for me to help other people. So,
Great.
but yeah, but again, you have to do
I
your
need
homework.
help.
You have to do your homework, guys. So you just can't become a day trader and expect to make money. It doesn't work like that. Like I said, my friend that just bought us matching Rolexes, he learned that you have to use those two methods. You have to use the long-term, method as far as dollar cost averaging with the 5 long-term stock. You can't be a day trader and work a 9-to-5 job. It took him a while. He lost 13,000 before he realized it. But then now he's up 6 figures because he went to the dollar cost averaging with the 5 long-term stocks. And those 5 long-term stocks have done extremely well, guys. They have done extremely well over the last 3, 4, 5 years.
You mentioned NVIDIA, sir, and you mentioned Apple. What are the other 3 stocks? Yeah.
The other 3 that's on the
Lilly.
top.
Yes, sir.
Lilly, Meta,
Amazon,
and
Lilly.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Meta, and Amazon.
Apple, Amazon, NVIDIA, Meta, and what's the
Lilly.
and Lilly.
Lilly.
I wrote those down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
put
okay.
Carver on there. Carver is doing
Now,
really
Carver's on my short-term list because Carver just came on the market a couple of years ago, but that stock's been in my short. That's at the bottom of that monthly report. Those are my short-term stocks, but Carver is pushing my 5 long-term stocks. So I may move Carver into my top 5 long-term because it's done extremely well. And it continues to do well. Again, it went up another $3, $4 on Friday when Jim Cramer recommended people buy Carver because he's a long-term Chipotle Mexican investor. He sees how people are moving from Chipotle into Carver. So now he's recommending people buy Carver, thinking that it's going to become the next Chipotle Mexican grill.
So Carver is like George Washington Carver?
No, it's
No,
CAVA.
CAVA.
It's
CAVA.
a Mediterranean type restaurant that sells more healthier food than Chipotle.
Thank you.
And
I
Okay.
go to Meza. Meza is another one. That's the one I go to all the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, what Jim Cramer is seeing that the younger generation is flowing more into Carver, into healthier eating than Chipotle. Plus, they've been buying Chipotle for the last decade, and they wanted something different. And then Carver just came out with all these new dishes. They got some type of steak thing that's really popular and tastes really good. And so that's why Jim Cramer recommended Friday morning, before the market opened Friday, to buy Carver. And I just pumped money into Carver at 7 o'clock and made a 7% return.
How much was that stock?
Well, the stock started off. the stock's where's Carver at right now? When I recommended Carver to you guys, Carver I think was at $30 a share.
Carver is 133.55.
Wow.
Yeah, Carver's now 130, was up
$100 a share.
When I first mentioned it to you, I mentioned it as a short-term stock.
You making some people feel real bad right now, Rosario.
I bought it at 70. So
Oh, you did? Yeah,
yeah, I
closed
bought it
at
at 70.
133.65 Friday when
Yeah.
Jim Cramer recommended people buy Carver stock.
The funny story about that is the person who told me to buy it, I bought it when they told me at 70.
Okay.
But they didn't buy it, and they end up buying it at 100.
You know what?
Taking them for their own advice.
I could tell you 1,000 stories like that. Folks that have sent me stuff. I researched it. I said, yes, this is good. I purchased it, made a lot of money, told them, and then they get mad because they didn't buy the stock that they recommend.
Wow.
But again, you have to do your homework. You just can't go by what people tell you is a hot stock. Because normally, if they tell you it's a hot stock, it's getting ready to become a cold stock. Okay. So you have to do your research.
I think one of the advice that which I thought that is powerful is someone else that you had on here, a friend of yours that works for the government, that I just remember she said she buy McCormack stocks. I can't remember that your friend Zelda. But the young lady, she works for the federal government or something like that. And her thing was, her advice was, make sure you buy, like she said, she invested in McCormick because she used a lot of McCormick spice because she cooks. And so one of my, my takeaway from that session here was, hey, listen, when Mr. Sampson had talked about Apple, I was like, all my products are Apple and I don't have any investment in it. I'm like, that's a problem. I'm spending all this money in something that
You spending all your money.
I
Might as well invest.
Get
So
some of
it was the same thing with Kava. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I needed Kava all the time. And I'm
All
like,
the
wait a
time.
minute, I don't have money in that either. And I'm there almost every week, like
Yeah.
3 times
And
a
if
week.
you like it, so does everybody else.
And what's something else with that stock, with the Apple stock, people don't realize. In fact, somebody just did an interview with someone on a Black Talk Show radio. They said they didn't realize that they were spending $234 a month in Apple services. Apple is making more money in services than they are selling
Their
iPhones.
products.
I believe it.
Yep, their services.
They're well,
Yep. So that company, I will never recommend people sell Apple. Never.
Hey, Arnold, I remember you, I think if I recall, you said you were also sitting in your easy chair watching TV when Trump walked out on the podium with Kodak.
yeah,
Uh,
what a memory you have. I mean, I wasn't as smart as the captain. I didn't see them come out on the podium. I was about to go to sleep and just about to turn the TV off and heard him say Kodak was they were going to put money into Kodak to produce PPEs, I guess it is, the protective clothing. And I thought, Kodak? Something that sounded fishy to me. The next morning when I woke up, I went and bought some Kodak shares, and it just ran up that day, and I sold it that day, and I did make $10,000. But I'm like a little pipsqueak compared to 100,000. Go ahead with your bad self. That's wonderful. Good for you. Good for you. Hot dog.
in fact, I don't know if you guys knew it, but all of the CEOs at Kodak got indicted for inside trading because they all purchased the stock
Yeah.
before the announcement. They added a lot of shares to their position before the announcement, and I'm sure Trump made billions off of that trade because that's what he was doing for 4 years, manipulating the stock market. That's why he made all that money. I was just following what Donald Trump was doing. I was just following his trades because he was manipulating the market and tipping people off before certain reports comes out at 8:30. Well, Trump would be briefed on it the night before and would make phone calls after he got briefed as far as what the reports were going to be at 8:30. And Trump got warned numerous times by the SEC because they saw all the people that was associated with him would always make market moves before the report came out at 8:30. Which is against the law, but he doesn't follow the law. He does, the law doesn't apply to him. So, that's what was happening, And again, I just happened to be in the right place when I saw him walking out, so I knew he was up to something, and I just hit it. I went in and then I came right back out again. So.
So with Tesla, then that they came out with this robot, Elon Musk, would you recommend purchasing Tesla?
Tesla, I made a lot of money in Tesla, but after Musk purchased Twitter to bring Donald Trump voice back to the market. In fact, I told Elon, me and him had a 2-hour-long conversation one night, 1 o'clock in the morning, going back and forth.
What?
And I told him not to purchase Twitter to bring Donald Trump voice back to the world because I know that everything Donald Trump touches dies. Well, Elon Musk didn't listen to me. In fact, I just texted him yesterday. I said, see, Tesla has dropped 40% since he's purchased Twitter, and Twitter's dropped 81%. And I keep reminding him, see, I told you so. I immediately sold my Tesla stock when he went forward because I told him not to do it before he was financially obligated to purchase Twitter. I kept telling him because because I knew it was going to impact Tesla stock. But he first, it sounded like he was agreeing with me. Then all of a sudden, he was forced to purchase on Twitter or be sued. So as soon as he was forced to purchase Twitter, I immediately sold my Tesla stock and paid off our rental property and bought other stuff because I knew the stock was going to go down, and it did. It dropped 40%. Tesla's down 40% today from when he purchased Twitter, and Twitter's down 81%.
Is that because people think he's a spread too thin? He's over too many companies?
Yeah, he is. And now he's into politics because why?
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump is going to make him the first trillionaire. Donald Trump has already tagged him to basically run the economic program that's going to allow Elon to make a lot of money selling Tesla stock. So that's why you saw him pledge $45 million a month to Donald Trump super PAC. But since then, he said, no, he never told Donald that he was going to give him $45 million a month. He told him he would give him some money, but it was not $45 million. But that's what came out, that Elon was going to give Trump $45 million up until the election. Because again, Trump has already had a separate meeting with Elon, and that's why you see him campaigning with Trump, is because if Trump becomes president, Elon will be probably the first trillionaire because he's going to make it where he makes the maximum amount of money.
So wouldn't that be the reason why we should have Tesla stock?
No, I sold Tesla because I knew Tesla was going to go down.
Okay.
Now, if Trump wins, then yeah, I would go back into Tesla.
Okay, right.
Because I know Tesla is going to make a lot of money if Trump wins. But if Trump loses, that's why you saw Elon Musk came out 3 days ago saying if Trump loses, he's going to prison. he said he's going to prison. He said Kamala Harris is going to put him in prison. And he won't be able to see his 11 kids, 11 or 12 now. Yeah, he just came out with that statement a couple of days ago. Kamala Harris is going to put him in prison if she wins. Basically trying to get people to vote for Trump because Trump is going to make him a lot of money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I come at you from left field with a question? Just open your mind here on this.
What's that?
There are organizations such as churches who are in the business of raising money to fund their agendas, activities, and helping the needy, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And to survive. Churches have a lot of smart members.
Yeah.
Them in the banking and economic fields, and they're retired. They have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
You indicate that you support a lot of folk with what you're doing. You're not, the money you're making and you've made over the years, you're not, putting that into yourself personally, but you're helping others. What advice can you get? Is this something where churches have folks who have some knowledge? They may have been in banking or money or whatever, business while they were, doing the 9 to 5 or working.
Yeah.
Some time on their hands, they're retired. Is there something that could be done there so that they could do what you're doing and perhaps put the money into the church? And I say that in the context of that the A&B Church, and some of the issues they've had with investments and retirement funds and things like that. So that's kind of backdrop. What advice could you give on that?
Well, normally, the church we go to, we have a group just like this group, that specialize. These are experts that's in the business, in the field, and they do like monthly training. And they also, one of my best friends, he was in charge of the church finances. And because of his background in real estate, purchasing properties, the pastor basically gave him the keys to make business decision for the church. And he made the church a tremendous amount of money because the pastor listened to him because he's really good at making money. They invested in properties, turned them into rental properties where they're getting monthly income. And it was a great investment. on something that didn't cost the church a whole lot, but then they were able to remodel, refurbish, and use those properties to make more money. So again, real estate, rental properties really is where it's at. You know, if a church has the ability to purchase properties or rental properties and rent them out, you can make a tremendous amount of money because of rental income is really skyrocketing. You know, in fact, we make a lot of money on our rental property, you know.
But the church has a first time owner. What they do is they allow you to move into this house, and as they're collecting the rent money from you, they're saving it for you. So when after a year you move out, you have money to put down towards your own house.
Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah, if the church wants,
That's the rental prop. That's what they did with the rental properties that they had purchased.
All right.
But isn't there a firewall though that the church has to worry about because the church is a nonprofit and are not taxed?
True.
So don't they have to create another mechanism like an LLC or a 501c3 that separates them so that it's not the church getting it? Don't they have to do that?
Well,
Captain?
I'm not sure how. I'm not sure how my friend did it. But that's
the answer. Yes.
It have to be a separate entity.
Yeah, you have to create another entity like a LLC and a profit LLC attached to the corporation, because I'm part of a bunch of organizations.
Yeah, that's probably
You have
what
to
they
create
did.
it, and then it's under that umbrella, and then you do the investment, and then it goes towards that. But yes, you do have to create a LLC.
Okay.
That's what we created in order to do those the rental property investment as part of the nonprofit, which is creating a bunch of different LLCs. Yes.
Okay. And that's probably what my friend did, because again, he's an expert when it comes to that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's why churches can't even really, from the pulpit, they really can't get too deep into politics because of the same prohibition. You got to keep that separation or lose your exemptions.
Yes.
You know,
Church leaders cannot recommend that you vote for a certain candidate.
Right.
They can only invite the candidate to the church to stand up in front of the congregation.
The judge's question is a great one. I'm a condo board president for the moment. I mean, I'm thinking about resigning. The bottom line is that I urged the board of directors to buy a unit that was being sold, a dental unit that was being sold. Mm-hmm. We made $100,000 in 5 months from fixing it up a little bit and reselling it. 100,000 clear profit. Yeah, but it was a move that was not the best move. We got to have a firewall.
Oh, okay.
We've got to create another entity to do something like that again, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Did you answer his question?
Yeah, Colleen, we see it. We'll get you on the group chat.
Great, thank you. Gotta run. Take
All
care.
right, bye. Thanks for coming.
Not a problem. Take care.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Great information and very informative. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions for the captain?
All right. How do you feel about Amazon? Real fast.
It's one of my top 5.
Any recommendations?
It's not moving as fast, but it's a consistent company.
Right.
Again, it's a company that I highly recommend if you're a long-term investor. In fact, all of my grandkids on Apple, Amazon, NVIDIA, all of those stocks, I purchased them. Instead of buying them toys and stuff for Christmas, I buy them stocks for Christmas. So I buy them the long-term stocks, and they are appreciating this because they see that their money is growing.
Right.
And then when they turn 18, the account goes over to them, exclusively.
Okay.
Now they can keep me on the account. In fact, all of them has so far, when they turn 18, 2 of them has turned 18, I've stayed on the account.
Right.
Can I be your grandson? I mean, but seriously, that's, talk about a legacy you can give your grandkids. I'm sure they appreciate the, money or, you know, a gift, but to do that and building the time value of that money involved in that's man, that was one of the reasons why Zelda and I started this ministry, because of what you just said right there.
Yeah. In fact, the ones that's working, they're actually buying stocks themselves after they turn 18, because I buy it up until 18. After 18, I tell them that they're on their own. So I'll turn the account over to them, but they have continued, the two that's turned 18 have continued to purchase more stocks because they see the advantage of investing in the stock market, something that our parents didn't teach us because we just didn't invest back then. Our parents didn't invest. Yeah, our parents was working from paycheck to paycheck. So again, I was so proud when they were both went out and purchased more stocks after they turned 18, because I can still see their account because they kept me on the account, and they called me and asked me about certain stocks. So you know, because those Nike sneakers are only gonna last for a couple of months, y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They were Jordans.
Oh yeah.
Jordans.
Yeah, they only gonna last for a couple of months, whereas the stocks will last a lifetime.
And because they don't know about it, the fact that they're getting it, they're going to ask questions, which means you're steering their mind in that direction to think
exactly.
So,
that's less money out of my pocket in the long term. That's the way I look at it.
on that
Really
note,
nice.
Okay.
we're going to bring things to a close. We want to make an announcement. The next meeting will again be on Zoom, Saturday, November 16 at 1 p.m. And we are going to have another speaker, Rosario McWhorter. She's a former member of our church, and she is a small business consultant. And she is going to speak on small business. If you're interested in starting a small business, or curious or scared about it, what do you have to do to start a small business and manage it and operate it? Either as your primary source of income, that's your goal, or as a side business, a side hustle, in addition to your 9 to 5. She is going to talk about that. She has a lot of experience in that area. Again, it'll be Saturday, November 16th at 1 p.m. And we will send out more information in the next few weeks about that. Zelda and I want to thank Rosario and Ceci for this wonderful presentation. You know, we're going to put this, as we always do, this is recorded on our church's YouTube site. So if you want to access this, you can just go to the YouTube and put in 3rd Street Bethel AME Church, and you'll see prior recordings up there. This will be the most recent recording. And please let people know about this and direct them to that site so they can get the information that could, as Rosario said it best, put him in position to help his grandchildren leave a legacy better than baby Jordans or something along those lines. Arnold, yes, sir.
I just want to say one thing, that when I was in the military, along the way I discovered, I heard the term white Southern gentleman's Navy. And if a black man to rise to Captain Waters rank, it means he's extraordinary. He is blessed, and he also is extraordinary. It is not an easy service for black men to rise in. It's a privilege to see somebody who has been so successful in that branch of the military, because it's a tough branch for people of color. Well, hats off to you, sir. So good for you.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna give a prayer for everyone. Dear Lord, thank you again. Bless everybody on this call. Bless those who could not make it. Thank you for this information. We do it because you are magnificent, wonderful, and we give you all the praise. It's in your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you. So great. So cool.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.